what an unbelievable honor to have on today the president of the American Dental Association and the executive director. Well, I have to go ladies first. I mean, I'm just that type of a guy. On your left is Kathy O'Laughlin, is the executive director of the American Dental Association, the nation's leading advocate for oral health. She is nationally recognized leader in healthcare, nonprofit, education sectors, and she speaks around the country about the profession of dentistry, oral health care delivery, and public health policy. She was the first female dental school class president and valedictorian of Tufts University School of Dental Medicine, and is the first female executive director of the American Dental Association, which was founded in 1859, and she's also a legend in my mind. The second person, that beautiful bald man over there, we only get the best. The bald ones, Kathy will only talk to the bald best dentist, is Dr. Chad P. Gehani, an endodontist from Queens, New York, the president of the American Dental Association. Wow, what a title. Since 2014, Dr. Gehani has served as a Second District Trustee to the ADA Board of Trustees and was a delegate in the House of Delegates from 2000 to 2014. He was previously the president of the New York State Dental Association and the Queens County Dental Society. Over the course of his career, he earned a number of fellowships from prominent organizations, including the International College of Dentists, American College of Dentists, and Pierre Fichard. In addition to the ADA, Dr. Gehani is a member of the American Association of Endodontists and the Indian Dental Association. He's received several awards, including the Ellis Island Medal of Honor, which recognizes Americans who dedicate their lives to community service, from the Ellis Island Honor Society, the Emil Lecter Distinguished Service Award from the Queens County Dental Society, the Distinguished Service Award from the Pierre Fichard Academy. I mean, it just goes on. I could read this thing for 40 days and 40 nights. And so I just want to jump right into it because, first of all, congratulations for picking the absolute worst time to become the president of the United States. I mean, you had from 1859 to 2020, the only worst idea you could have had was 1917 during the Spanish influenza. And I guess you just weren't ready for it back then. But my gosh, every time I see that, you know, I've raised 4 kids. When everything's going great, they love dad. And when the world starts falling apart, it's always going to be my fault, mom's fault, it's, you know. And on Dental Town, oh my gosh, they're getting cranky. I mean, first in March, it was like shock. Like, what up? What's going on? But now you just see mad and cranky. And my gosh, I feel so sorry for you guys. And I've been saying the same message consistently about the ADA. They're like your parents. My mom turned 82 Saturday, and you're not going to believe this. You would think the mother of me is perfect, but she's actually not. She's actually kind of crazy. You'd never believe that, but you're only parents. I mean, if it's not you, you know, who's going to look out for us? Is it going to be, you know, Burger King, McDonald's? I mean, it's you right there. So first of all, I just want to say, big thank you for all that you've done for dentistry. You guys are the reason your moms cry at dental school graduation, and these are the worst of times. So my first question I want to ask you guys, is this the worst of times in your life?
First of all, Howard, what an honor to be leading the American Dental Association during the time when the dentists needed us the most. We have actually proven that we do not just talk, we walk the walk. We actually do what we say. We are the America's trusted source for dental profession, and we advocate for our patients and our profession. And we have absolutely proven during the last 4 months, every dentist in the United States understands, and every patient in the United States understands that the American Dental Association is out there for them. They are looking for the safety of the patient. We are looking for the safety of our co-workers, our dental team, and of course, our families. And we have absolutely done that for the past 3 years. And for me to be at the head of that table and to run the show there, that's the biggest honor Almighty God can ever bestow upon Chad Gehani. So I am honored to be a servant leader of our profession.
Well, I'm so glad you're driving the wheel because I wouldn't take that job with a gun to my head. Kathy, the last time you were on, my gosh, it was 20. When was that? It was what was the date of that? It was 2016. I can't believe 4 years ago. I mean, my gosh, if you would have known what you know now, would you just have quit in 2016?
Now I feel like Dr. Gehani feels. What an opportunity this crisis has presented. The ADA, what would dentists do without the ADA given the last several months? Without us, they're likely not to be back in full practice. They wouldn't know how to apply for SBE loans. They wouldn't know how to apply for short-term payroll protection relief. Even right now, the HHS is issuing provider relief payments in the most confusing way possible, and the ADA is the group sorting it out and helping dentists understand how to get the money and what you can spend the money on. We've provided the world with how to make dental practice safer. It's always been safe. We've made it safer because of the aerosol transmission route of COVID-19. And we've been educating everybody on how to maintain safe practices that protects the patient, the provider, their team. And honestly, dentistry has really shown. I think Chad will tell you we're about to focus on keeping dentistry as an essential healthcare service that's intimately part of overall healthcare. And we hope to push that as interim policy very soon in the next few days. But it's a very critical role. I am just as excited as Chad is. Never waste a great crisis, and this is a great crisis, overwhelmingly challenging, and we're helping dentists stay well.
What I can't figure out the most watching you guys, I mean, it's like watching Beethoven and Mozart do a dance. What I can't understand is on Dental Town, you can't get two dentists to agree that it's Wednesday. And the reason I love my business is because I'm a totalitarian dictator. I own the whole company. If you don't like it, there's 4 doors. But you have to get all these other dentists to agree on something. I mean, I couldn't even imagine so will you just go through the decision-making process? How do you, dentists, I mean, it's like leading cats. How do you get 150,000 cats to go the same way? How do you do that?
I'll let Chad start, and then I have some thoughts.
Howard, first of all, you just said that you cannot get 2 dentists. Like me and my wife, we both are dentists, and I don't know how we are still married, but we don't agree on anything in dentistry. But one thing that 2,000 and 1,200 practicing dentists in United States agree on is that the American Dental Association is the trusted source for the dental profession, not just in the United States, but globally. Everyone looks at the ADA for the direction since the past 4 months. You asked me about how did we come to this process. We had been watching the news and we had been watching the coronavirus quite seriously since the beginning of 2020. And the thing started getting turning a little bit much at a faster pace was maybe around March 12th or 13th. The thing started it was like a snowball action and rapid changes all the times. We have an expert team of professionals at the American Dental Association. We have the greatest person in science and his team. We have the dental practice people, and we have the epidemiologists, and they had been working behind the scenes all along. And when we saw that things are changing very rapidly, and we saw no direction from any other agency, somebody had to come out and give some directions or some recommendations at the time. So our board got together and we looked at all the pros and cons, And we thought that the best thing for us to do at the present time, back in March, on March 16th, was to at least mitigate the flattening of the curve. The curve was going high up like this, and we needed to flatten the curve by doing the social distancing. And one of the ways that you as a dentist can do the social distancing by limiting the number of patients or traffic in your office at the time. So that was number one thing. And the number two thing that we thought of is that, we want to preserve all the PPE because that was the call at that time, that we want to save it for the COVID victims in the hospital and other serious conditions. So we decided to recommend, and this was a recommendation. This was not a mandate from the American Dental Association. We do not issue any mandates. We can only recommend what is right for our society. And the right thing to do was, at that time, to stop doing a routine dental care, but focus on any emergency type of dental situation, and the dentist's professional choice of deciding what is emergency at that time was crucial to us. The Surgeon General actually called me on my cell phone, and he asked me just one question. His first question was, Dr. Gehani, why did you not recommend complete closure of the dental offices rather than keeping the dental offices open? Of course, we had recommended the dental offices to be open, but for emergency care only. Imagine if we closed all the dental offices. Anyone who had a toothache or had any other emergent kind of dental issues, they will be running to the hospital emergency rooms. So as soon as he heard that we have been socially responsible in doing our part in a proper way to help the society mitigate the issues with the coronavirus at that time, he actually thanked me. And he not only thanked me privately, he actually thanked the American Dental Association on a public television, saying that we were the first professional organization who thought of fulfilling our social responsibility, our civil responsibility, and helping the public. And we are very proud of our action. If I have to do it over again, many times I say there's no playbook in the actions. This action, I'm very proud of our association, and the entire board was unanimous in authorizing me to come out with that recommendation.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Kathleen, you got 400 employees over there. How do you keep them on the same team? My gosh, I couldn't imagine getting 400 dentists in the room. I would rather have 400 cats or tigers or lions. How do you? Well, let me flip it around. The World Health Organization declared this in May. So we got May, June, July, 3 months. Would have dentists rewarded you with or told you thank you? Where are most of your thank yous coming from?
So, in the beginning, when the board made the recommendation to reduce practice, it was not a very popular decision by the ADA. And we got lots of nasty emails, phone calls, how dare you, finger waving, who do you think you are? But I think preserving the safety was of paramount importance and contributing to the medical community. Chad is from Queens, New York. They were the epicenter of the first surge with, the images on TV of mobile morgues rolling up to hospitals because they couldn't keep up with the number of deaths from COVID was stunning and frightening. I think my team kicked into their higher purpose, which is always to help the profession be successful, but this time it was to help them be safe and to help their practices be safe. So, we went remote working as of March 16th. I set 500 people loose. I hope their laptops worked and hope they could figure out Zoom on their own.
Did you say 400 people or 500 people?
All told, it was it was nearly 500 people.
Yep.
Wow, you guys have half 1,000 employees. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and they never skipped a beat. We started forming teams. We had been training everyone in agile project management over the last 3 years. That paid off. We started forming 6 major teams that met daily. Chad's been participating in the COVID response team every day. God bless him. And those teams are running our responses in an agile way. So stand-up meetings, moving things on Trello boards from backlog to being completed. And the teams never stopped working. I mean, it was 24/7, 7 days a week in the first 3 months. And they were energized. That's what a crisis will do to good team members. It energizes them. And then, it got to be exhausting. So we started looking out for their wellness and telling them when to stand down and when to take breaks and that sort of thing. I think my employees have produced the best work ADA has ever produced with the highest value. So, for example, we put everything related to COVID in front of the firewall. We wanted it to be accessible by everyone.
Yep.
And we got criticized for that. But that was our public mission, to protect the health of the public. The good news is when non-member dentists wanted access to stuff, we captured their contact information. And so as a result, we've got 18,000 non-members who we now can communicate with and say, you found all this value, you downloaded all this stuff, we helped your practice get organized and be safe. Would you consider, being part of the team? And we expect that to be, much more visible value to dentists. Dentists used to say to Chad and I, what do you do for me? Well, we helped you get money this time. We helped you get safe. We helped explain what an aerosol-borne virus does. We helped you get PPE. I mean, dentists could not get their hands on PPE at all. And we went straight to FEMA and got FEMA to put dentists on the list. And now we've got a sufficient, and not a great supply of PPE, but it's sufficient for practices to be open. Dentists weren't even on the list in FEMA's mind, and they controlled all of the COVID PPE, all of it. So I think between our government affairs office fighting to get dentists considered in all that legislation, helping dentists interpret it, what it means to me, how do I apply for stuff, we were solving problems when banks were being resistant to processing Small Business Administration loans because the feds didn't give them enough instruction, right? I mean, a small dental practice can't compete with $1 billion corporation that's applying for the same money. So I think it was honestly, Chad's right. This has been our finest hour, and we continue, I think, to meet the needs of dentists, but we're also getting back to business. I mean, we're not just focused on COVID, third-party payer issues. We're still fighting that battle. We are still legislating for licensure ease in states to make it easier for dentists to move around and not to have to sit for different licensing exams in multiple parts of the country. We're trying to help the dental students graduate and get credentialed and get licensed. That hit 6,500 dental students who were suddenly without a way of getting licensed. So we've been incredibly active and moving our regular strategic plan and operating plan forward and making good progress on it, by the way. Digitally transforming the ADA so we connect with millennials and Xers and Ys has been a major investment, and we're moving forward with that. So honestly, a lot of good things have happened. I think emotionally, this to me is the same pattern you go through with any source of grief or loss, right? Your first reaction is denial. And we had that. A lot of dentists were in complete denial. This isn't going to impact my practice. Then they were angry, perfectly expected. They were losing an enormous part of their life. They started negotiating with us. We started forming a lot of volunteer task teams, and they've been meeting 3-4 times a week. We've had, gosh, I want to say almost 20 board meetings, Chad, since
Oh,
March.
yes.
At least.
This Monday will be my 21st board meeting.
Yeah, so
we
Dr.
have been
Gehani
meeting-
has a new world record for convening board meetings.
Yes, I do, and it will be hard for somebody to break. Besides 450 ADA, I call them my co-workers, my team workers. I couldn't do anything without them. The fact that I was here on time because somebody from ADA made sure that I'm here. So I thank my co-workers at the ADA. We have 450 ADA employees, plus we have 3,500 dental volunteer leaders.
Right.
They work together with our 450 employees, and the product that they have produced in the last 3 months has been phenomenal. Last night, I believe we were in session almost till 8:30, 9 p.m. I even forget the time, Eastern time. And our task force on practice recovery was working on some additional guidance for return to work. And we keep updating our website on that. So
last night the focus was on how do dental practices handle employee issues. Extremely complicated. What do you do with a hygienist who doesn't want to come back to work? What do you do with a dental assistant who shows up Monday morning after partying all weekend in Florida on a beach, and she suddenly tells you she doesn't feel very well? I mean, we are producing toolkits that basically hold the hand of any dentist as to how to handle almost every situation. We're working our way through a huge list of unknowns, and I think we're going to continue because the updates keep coming fast and furious. OSHA and CDC, I think, got caught a little bit behind the 8 ball, and we've helped them move forward very collaboratively. We have a wonderful relationship with Food and Drug, with OSHA, with CDC, and they call us for advice, which is great. So they don't come out with things that are not feasible to incorporate in a dental, setting. So a lot of hard work, and we're not done yet. We have to keep updating. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination.
For Arizona, we had our governor, which, by the way, I live in Arizona, which is the only state that allows licensures from other states. And thank you for that. I mean, I thought it was crazy in 1987, and now I think it's crazy that it's only one state. But they made us close down on St. Patrick's Day, which I thought was pretty rude. That was the day I started Dental Town in '99, and to close it on my holiday, I thought that was rude. But then they opened it back up on Cinco de Mayo. So my second quarter, I just got my final numbers from the account. My second quarter for 2020 is down 62% over last quarter. And it's fine when you're, I'll be 58 next month. It's fine for a 58-year-old, but I can see if you're 30, 40 with 3 kids running around the house, that makes for some cranky. But I want to follow up on, you said the 5 stages of this thing is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Where do you think the dentists are now? And more importantly, I already know the number one question on everybody's mind because I watch them on Dental Town every day. But on Dental Town, I think the past is the past. I think right now everybody's wondering, we keep hearing that this virus, the coronavirus, is known to kind of go flat and die out in the summer and come back with a vengeance in the fall. And everybody right now, like every lab I've talked to is telling me they're just behind. I mean, you talk to... You call 10 labs, they'll all say, I get that back in 4 days. Well, now it's 8. So everybody's swamped, but we all feel kind of weird because we're making up for that, the time we lost revenue. But do you think September we're going to go through what you went through in New York? Do you think it's all going to repeat September, October, November?
How about before I let Dr. O'Loughlin get into the numbers, I do answer the telephones that put to me by my bosses, which is 164,000 members of the American Dental Association. They can call me at any time.
And they do.
They absolutely do that.
They do.
And my phone calls start at 6 a.m. in the morning and does not finish many times till 9:30 or 10 in the night. The feedback that I have been getting from my bosses, the members of the American Dental Association, overall has been extremely positive. The public feedback has also been quite good. People appreciate the guidance that the American Dental Association has provided to the dental professionals. For example, the return to work toolkit. That's so much of the resource there. Additionally, our DC team has been very active in advocating for the ADA and dentists across the country. And as Kathy alluded to, besides the PPP money that the dental profession got, the EIDL, and then the CARES Act, and then working with FEMA, that was one of the major, I call it mission impossible. When I call our contact in Washington, D.C., Mr. Mike Graham, I was even questioning myself that should I even ask him to do that? He gladly took the task, and he spends hours of time on a regular basis. Sometimes he doesn't even leave his desk to advocate for the PPE for the dentist and for the ADA to get the PPE to be distributed to the dentist. That was huge. And for the dental profession to be put on most important list. We are number 4 on the list now of the FEMA's PPE. That's phenomenal. As far as the numbers are concerned, with our financial information and our finances, me and my wife both are practicing dentists. And 2 of my children are also practicing orthodontists, one in New York City and one in Dallas. And we do talk, and the numbers are returning, I can't say to absolute normal, but the things are turning better and quite positive. One thing that I can tell you, when the dentists come to my office and my wife's office, the first thing that they say to us is, "Doctor, I'm so glad to see you back. I'm so glad that you are around." And we get tons of thank you letters from them. Kathy, if you want to take it from there in order to give him some numbers, I'll appreciate it.
Yeah, we're Marko Vujicic and the Health Policy Institute has been tracking the impact of COVID from the beginning on multiple areas. So what we've seen is an incredibly strong rebound economically for dentists. And I would say even within the ADA, we're starting to see our own finances start to rebound. We're guessing that dentists will hit about 85% of pre-COVID productivity. And whether or not it flattens out there remains to be seen. We know dentists are not able to see the volume of patients they saw pre-COVID because of all the guidance that's been put out there about social distancing, aerosol capture, the amount of cleaning you need to do, the issue of spacing, having time between patients, using a single operatory. So we are going to keep our eye on that very closely. We also are keeping an eye on their mental health. We provide some wellness resources, and we're stepping that up with the states because the younger cohorts, the employee dentists, have had a much harder time recovering, both emotionally and economically. Many of them are still out of work. The employee dentists, whether they're associates in a smaller practice or partners in a dental support organization practice, those dentists did not rebound as quickly or as strongly as the practice owners. The good news is the practice owner dentists are saying patients are flying back into their offices. Patients are not fearful of returning to dentistry, and we have hard data on that. that we're monitoring, not just through our own data collection, but other sources. And so we're seeing, delightfully so, patients can't wait to come back to their dentist. They feel safe there, and I think there's legitimate reason why patients are feeling that way. So we're looking for ways, one, to shore up our mental health supportive dentists, especially in the younger cohort, the younger employee dentists, because they really need our help. So we're stepping up activity in that area. Women dentists have dual responsibilities, often trying to raise children who are now not in school, and they're homeschooling children with their partners. And so they have an added layer of complexity that we're also helping them sort out. We're launching something called the Accelerator Series for women dentists this week, as a matter of fact. So there's a lot of still that needs to be done, Howard. And until there's mass testing, vaccinations that are effective, and herd immunity, we are not out of this. And so we need to just kind of make a decision that we're in this for the long haul and just keep working at it.
Boy, you have your finger on the pulse, because one of the biggest threads on Dental Town is called suicide. And the thread is 3 pages long, littered with disasters. It's so sad. My gosh. But do you think, I feel that a lot of dentists and that I talk to are feeling a lot of hope, because they think if we get this second wave and it is bad, that they're going to close down bars, restaurants, everything else. But I think you guys have convinced them that we know PPE, we know air ventilation. The question is not our infection controls. Like, do we need the UVA lights? Do we need a negative pressure? It's also our second rodeo. When I got out of high school in 1980, that's when I met my first virus, HIV, and we had to get rid. I remember the old dentists back then screaming about having to wear gloves. And then when we walked into dental school, I was sitting there thinking, okay, well, all the real dentists outside, they're not wearing gloves. And I said, why do we have to wear it in a lab? And my teacher said, I don't even want you to know what that handpiece feels like. I don't want you to ever meet it, never touch it. So then the customers had to go. Then the water from the street had to go to bottled water. So we've been incrementally improving all through HIV, and I think Asia did a lot better than this deal, because this was their second rodeo with SARS. They started dealing with this in 2012. I remember, because I was lecturing over there, and living over here. When something come up about Ebola, everybody's like, well, we're not in Africa. America starts with A and ends with A, like Africa, but they don't worry about it. And now it finally came here. So everybody's comparing to, well, look at Asia. It's like, well, Asia, that's their second rodeo. I'm sure if we got hit with this virus just like this time 10 years from now, we're going to do a lot better. But the succinct question is, if this thing comes back with a fall wave, which basically they're saying that they think there's a 1 in 7 chance that this first one was the big wave, looking at history. 4 times out of 7, the second wave was bigger. So if it's 4 out of 7 and the second wave is bigger, do you think you've made it clear enough that dental offices won't have to close down? Or do you think we may be looking at closing down?
Howard, we go with the evidence. We are evidence-based, science-based organization. So we look at the science, and we look at the evidence, and we look at everything else. We are much more informed now than what we were in the month of March, for example. And everybody understands that. We have not seen any documented transmission of COVID virus under a dental practice setting. Now, if you ask me, hey, Chad, have you seen any dentists suffering from COVID? I'll probably give you a list of 15 or 20 people whom I may know personally. That's a different story. But if you go and ask those people, how did they get COVID? The story may be different. They went to a bar. They went to a synagogue. They went to a party. They did something else, or they were traveling. There was a story, one of my closest, she was my dental student. Now she's my colleague. She's an endodontist, and she's an attending at NYU. She had COVID, and I was feeling terrible for her. So, and she's a dear friend to me. So I asked her, how did you get COVID? Well, I got it from a resident at the hospital. Well, how did this resident get COVID? Did the resident get it from the patient? No, the resident had just traveled to Far East, and I don't want to name the country. You probably guessed it right. So the resident had just traveled from that country, came here, went to hospital to practice, and from that, on the first or second day, 3 attendings in the room. This happened in the month of March.
Right.
So,
And you said it was in the Far East. I'm in Arizona, so I'm thinking Albuquerque. Back in March, I thought this was going to be easy because I've been practicing social distancing my whole life just with my personality. But it's amazing how things change. Like I remember when this thing started, the government was saying, "Don't use masks, don't wear masks. We need them in the hospitals." And then 30 days later, they turn around and say, "Okay, you should be wearing a mask." And of course, America is a huge country. I mean, it's 1/3 of a billion people. And nobody talks about Europe like the way they talk about the United States. Like in Europe, nobody would compare Germany to Greece or Portugal to Italy. I mean, they look at it as 17 different unique countries. I don't see anything in common between Alaska and Miami or New York and Albuquerque. I mean, I think, in fact, even a Federal Reserve chairman one time gave a long lecture how he thought America was 11 different economies flying under the same flag. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And what I see in Arizona, which is officially, I don't know if you know this, but we're officially the Florida of the West. It's like 2 different Americas, and the majority is this is a common cold, this is crazy, this is silly. I mean, I could open up my dental office with no gloves and no mask, and probably half of Arizona would say, right on, But the older people, the 16 older who need a lot of dentistry, a 30-year-old needs a filling. A 60-year-old needs implants and partials and dentures and all that stuff. I do see a lot of them. They don't even care what the governor says, the president says. They're home hunkered down. So so it looks like dentistry. And then in the last 30 years, when you looked at analysis for like dental advertising done by universities, they said, well, there's really 2 Americas. Half of them are just going to buy on price, and half of them are going to buy on value added. And then in Arizona and in the South, I seriously believe 80% think it's a hoax, it's a cold, it's a flu. I mean, it just is what it is. There's a lot of people in this country, but I do. I'm still going to hold you to your feet on that. Where do you think? Where do you think the average dentist is now? Do you think he's what were the 5 stages of grief? Let me pull that back up again. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Do you think from March 11 to today's 7/22, March, April, May, June, July, do you think in 4 months they finally hit nirvana and they have acceptance? Or do you still smell a lot of anger?
I think most of them are in the phase of acceptance.
I agree.
Many of them have been referring to our ADA.org/virus. I don't have the number of downloads that we have been tracking, that the dentists have been downloading our
hundreds of thousands.
I check that thing every day. I tweet it every time. Every time you update it, I push that link out everywhere I could. It's just been an amazing sync. I mean, all this data, and it just all funnels down to one sync graph, and that was work well done.
I mean, we had about 95% of the practices electively go to very reduced service to patients out of the greater good. And so I think at that point, they were angry and in denial and everything else. I do think with support, they've moved quickly through all of those phases, and they're accepting now of the new reality. We're not getting pushed back by people about face masks anymore or masks. They are needing advice about environmental controls because there's not a lot of research around that, but we are on it. We're talking to environmental hygiene companies and associations for industrial hygienists whose main focus is keeping air quality, at the safest level possible. So I think we've done a good job helping dentists equip themselves for maximum protection from a very, very aggressive, easily transmitted virus. And we're tracking the rates of COVID among dentists, and we'll be publishing a JADA paper on that, hopefully in the near future. And I think it'll prove to be a good story that dental practices are safe as long as they follow the guidance we've provided. And we're seeing good compliance, right? I mean, Dr. Gehani talks to dentists all the time. They're not fighting us anymore. Yeah. They're saying, where can I get more PPE? Where can I get, high-speed evacuation machines? Where can I get HEPA filters for my office? They're moving in a solid direction. And then Chad and I both graduated when AIDS was not on our radar screen, and suddenly it was killing people. So I feel like we've been through this rodeo before.
Yeah, you know how we were talking about there's two Americas with the patients anywhere from it, and this is on my family too. I mean, it's not like the Ferrans are perfect. We're at the end of the day we're just crazy Irish people, and I'd say 80% of the Ferran family reunion believes this is a hoax, in Kansas and all that stuff. So if you know anybody at the CDC, whenever we have a Ferran family reunion in Kansas, I wish someone from the CDC would come and take some DNA test and see if they can figure out.
We can arrange that for you, Howard. We have a very good relationship with Casey Hannon, who runs the oral health division. And, Casey and I talk probably once at least a week on what the science is saying. Yes. And, yeah, I have to tell you, personally, I have a huge Irish Catholic family, huge, 45, 50 people. We always get together many times a year, and we haven't been able to do that. And Chad knows, I lost a child this year.
Yes.
In April.
Oh, my gosh.
And we could not hold a service for her. She was working in a hot spot in New Orleans. Got sick, went downhill in 24 hours. I got a call that
from COVID?
She had a stroke related to what they think was an undiagnosed COVID.
I'm so sorry, Kathy.
So, but, we couldn't hold services for her until just 2 weeks ago. And because the church newly reopened, and it was masks, social distancing, everyone had to provide their name, their phone number. If you had traveled into the state, you had to quarantine for 2 weeks before you could go to the church. I mean, it's impacting all of us. And,
when did she
all
pass?
of us have stories about what the impact has been on us.
When did she pass?
April or
In
May?
April, yeah.
So I mean, Kathy, you have this very stressful job. You have 500 people. You're in the middle of the pandemic. You lose a child. Yeah. How do you keep going through that? I mean, why did you not just quit? I mean, you're Irish. You should have just walked straight to the bar and said, "Give me 3 shots of Jameson. Hold the ice." How did you survive that?
Hey, Howard, wait till my presidency is over with. She has to be there till I'm done. I'm just kidding. She will.
Yes, Chad told me that the outpouring of support from the board was overwhelming, and my employees. I mean, everybody was feeling it, and you have to be resilient. You have to push forward. You have to still get up out of bed and put your foot on the floor and put the next foot on the floor. And, when you have a lot of people depending on you, it motivates you to keep moving. I'm not saying it was easy, but I had a lot of support from Chad and his wife, and from Dan Clemenson, who's your guy in Arizona, the incoming president-elect, and the outpouring of support holds you together, right?
I couldn't imagine living through that pain. I mean, my God, my gosh, that's just unbelievable. But what a role model to see someone resilient through the worst of the worst. So how do you wrap your mind around your agenda like right now? So right now we're in the middle of July, or we're going to end July, we're going to go into August. The big question mark for coronavirus is when you look at the charts, they keep saying everybody sees the same information where, you know, it's like 85% of humans live in the Eastern Hemisphere, not in the Americas, and about the same percent live in North America, not Northern Hemisphere, not South. And that coronavirus and the rhinovirus, they kind of peter out in the summer and they come back in the fall. So you're at July and you got this big question mark at September. Do you have how do you, what are you planning on today? Where's your mind at today? And how big of an unknown is the fall second wave to you?
Chad, do you want to answer? Because last night we talked about this.
You know, until we have a vaccination, until we have the testing, this equation will continue to happen. Once we have testing, and this morning, as I was looking at the financial news, and the Pfizer stock went like $2 up all of a sudden, and I'm looking at, wow, what happened to Pfizer? Because they have some promising results about the vaccinations. Once we have a proper trusted vaccine, this will be history. We shall be laughing it off. Dentistry will be a lot better informed. We will be serving our patients with much more confidence, and of course.
But Chad, you know, I'm just talking about the dentist. I mean, the people, yeah, they can believe. But if you're a dentist, here's what every dentist will tell you on Dental Town. They'll say, like me, I graduated in '87. They told us the vaccine for Streptococcus mutans was around the corner. I mean, around the corner. They told me to be an orthodontist like your wife or something else because it was only going to be bleaching, bonding, veneers. When I started getting my first flu shot, they'd say, now, you know, this is for the flu. This is not the common cold. And I said, well, why don't you have one for the common cold? And they go, oh, that's next year. Yeah, next year we're going to have one for the rhinovirus. So I mean, P. gingivalis was going to be vaccinated 40 years ago. So any dentist who's over 60s, like, Chad, I've been hearing about your vaccine unicorns and, you know, mermaids for 40 years. And I can send you 10 YouTube videos by virologists, epidemiologists who have been working on a coronavirus vaccine their whole life. Their whole life. So why are they going to pull it out of a hat right now?
So at least among the senior executive team at the ADA, we're scenario planning for a rapid resurgence of COVID, and it isn't going to follow a typical flu season pattern. And we saw that now. We're still in the first phase. We've not passed into the second phase where we've gotten transmission rates down below 10% positivity in every state. And we expect this to surge unpredictably as long as people are not social distancing, wearing masks, using social isolation. My expectation is the employees of ADA will work remotely for 6 months to a year from now. We're not expecting a miracle. What we are expecting is a resurgence of transmission. Our goal is to keep practices open because we want to maintain them as safe environments and do everything in our power to provide the policymakers and the public. Dentistry is an essential health service, and it's got to stay open and it's got to stay safe. So I think that's our focus, but we are scenario planning for a massive resurgence. We have made really good state by state connections with public health officials. I just had a conversation with Mississippi this morning because they've had a resurgence and they're nervous and they want to close practices again. And we said, you know, we gave them the facts and said, there has not been any documented in-office dental practice transmission. And we are tracking the number of dentists who have COVID and have recovered. And we are using that information to establish what the baseline is. So, you know, nobody's asking hospitals to close, right, Howard? And those are breeding grounds for transmission. So we need to keep, you know, subspecialties of medicine open and available to the public just to preserve the health of the public. So that's where we are. And I think Chad will tell you, we're going to keep focusing on that like crazy for the next year.
Well, Chad, I can't believe I got you to come on the show because, I mean, my God, you're the president of the ADA, and you're probably busier than a one-armed dentist. But I want to end on a positive note. It's hard to have a positive note during the middle of the pandemic, but what has surprised you the most during this pandemic, and has anything positive came out of it, of this whole thing?
I'll tell you, lots of positive came out of it. If you had asked me in the month of April, you probably saw me crying, and the tears will not stop. My practice is next to Elmhurst Hospital, which you saw almost every day on the news. My neighbors, my friends, many people that I knew of. I have a church across the street from my office, and I don't go to church every Sunday, but I'm a religious person, and we do go there for blessings. So the priest, who's also my patient, knows us personally. So the church being closed, hearing many people dying was a problem. And then I was telling my wife, you know what? We have been married for 45 years. And guess what? On the fourth day that we got married, we came to the United States. And I started working on the next day. So we have never been together for so many days. So this was like my first honeymoon. And she starts laughing and she says, well, I find an opportunity anyway. So the patients, I did not know how much the patients love us and they respect the dentist. Many of the patients, as soon as they walk in, they want to give me a hug, and then I tell them, stop there, I need to take your temperature. And they understand that. Oh, doctor, it's so great to see you. We usually think that the dentist is like, oh, dentist, I have to give him money and then he's going to sit next to me and cause me pain. That was the typical scenario that you think of a dentist. Here now we find out that the dentists are really loved by the community, and we are part of the community. And of course, the American Dental Association has really walked the walk. Saying that we are the trusted resource for the dental profession is one thing, but during the time of need, proving it beyond a reasonable doubt to the entire community. We have been in the news media, I would say 3,420 times, in the print as well as in the live shows and all that. The community loves us, and we are part of the community. And that was something that, many times as a dentist, you don't get to hear that when you're so busy in your practice.
Well, we have on Dental Town, we have 50 forms, and one of them is for yours truly and the American Dental Association. What I love about the form is, you always get the whiners who whine, they could have done more. And the number one hearing feedback I hear is, dude, 90% of all those people are volunteers. I mean, everybody I know, for the last 30 years, you can go home on Monday and watch Monday Night Football. And then there's those volunteers that go down to the Arizona Dental Association on drink water. And I always say to them, it's like, why would you go there instead of the bar with me and watch Monday Night Football? And it's just passion. And then they do all that passion for no money, and all they get is complaints. And I am very proud that, I don't know, what percent of the dentists are members? Is it?
Oh, it's 64.
64, and what's for the American Medical Association?
27.
What is it?
I think it's probably around 27%.
So the AMA is 27, and the ADA is what?
64.
Yeah, so we're 3 times those guys, and I'm telling you that, man, when the shit hits the fan, that's not when we form a circle and start shooting each other. That's when we form a circle and work together. And my gosh, I just can't believe that all you guys have done. I can't believe you go through it. Kathleen, I can't believe you had to go through this out losing a child. I mean, that just makes me nauseous. But my gosh, on that note, patients trust the dentist. I don't want to say anything negative, but do you think that's where the big problem is? I know you got a lawsuit with Delta. I know DSO's a buzzword. Is it just mainly because the insurance companies and the DSOs aren't ran by dentists? It seems like when I got out of school in '87 and like the Delta board was all dentists, it seemed to have more of a sacred relationship. And then when they replaced all the dentists with lawyers, not so much. And same thing with DSOs. When that DSO is ran by a dentist, you see the solidarity. Then when it's ran by a Wall Street private equity guy, you don't see the trust. When you talk about going across the street to your church and the trust and all that stuff, do you think do you spend a lot of time like I do? Like my 4 boys, I'm so glad they made me 6 grandchildren, and I like my 6 grandchildren at least 12 times more than my 4 boys. They're just perfect, but I don't want to pass on and have my little grandchildren go to a dentist with some MBA saying, "Oh, well, if it's 2 for Tuesday. You buy 1 crown, you get the second one free. Would you like 2 crowns for the price?" It's like, dude, I want a dentist involved with so many things. Do you think? Do you agree that Delta used to be mostly dentists and now it's gone to lawyers? And DSOs, they started out with like Rick Workman, dentist, and now it seems like every CEO I meet at DSO is a banker, a private equity guy. Is that a troubling trend for you?
That's why I always say that we speak with one united voice for our entire profession. And when we speak with one united voice for our entire profession, we are a lot better speaking united than speaking individually. You mentioned about some challenges with Delta Dental. It was all about protecting the public. It was all about doing the right thing. So the third-party payers, I consider and I call them as my partners, and they will always be called as my partners. But when we find out, when Chad Gehani finds out that my partners are at fault or they could do a little bit better for my colleagues and for my patients, I will absolutely like to challenge them and do the right thing for our profession. And of course, when we are united, we can get a lot better results than Chad Gehani alone, solo, trying to achieve something by myself. But when I have 164,000 bosses together with me, that's a lot of power, and that's a lot of energy, and that's a lot of strength for the profession.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Was there anything you wanted to talk about that I was too dumb to bring up, or you wish I brought up, or anything?
So Howard, how are you doing?
Well, I mean, my gosh, I'm a human cockroach. Nothing's gonna kill this guy. I mean, Jameson couldn't do it. Eating my dad, my father owned a Sonic drive-in. So I grew up on French fries, onion rings, tater tots. I mean, nothing's killed me so far, but I turn 58 next month. The family's good. The employees are good. Everything's good. But again, I see stress, and I'm a little worried about if all the unemployment benefits end next month.
Right.
And then we have a resurgence in the fall. I have to admit, I have no faith in the vaccine because you've been promising me that since I was in dental school. I mean, so I'll just end. I just got one question for Chad. I'll know Chad the most if I just know this one thing. You're an endodontist, and everybody knows there's only 2 types of endodontists. There's a type like me that clean it all the way out to the apex, and they blow a puff of sealer out the end. We're apical barbarians. And then there's these dainty pulp lovers that try to get within a 0.5 millimeter from the apex and just get right to the end. So are you a pulp lover or an apical barbarian?
I'm going to say it this way to you. As a matter of fact, I was teaching my residents yesterday, and I looked at them and I said to them, it's not what you put in, it's what you take out is more important. And then I showed them a case where I had done good cleaning and shaping. Patient was paid up. He disappeared for almost 9 months or a year. He shows up after a year. There was no root canal filling done, but the periapical pathosis was gone. The patient still had the temporary filling, the IRM that Chad Gehani had packed in. So there was no saliva dripping in.
But you know, if you had to mount one x-ray above the fireplace, it'd be one with a big puff of sealer coming out in a lateral canal.
I'm going to disagree with you, Howard, because one of my previous jobs, I was chief dental officer for United Health Group, and we had the New York territory, and I saw some of Dr. Gehani's x-rays, and they were perfect.
So is he a pulp lover or an apical barbarian?
He's a pulp lover and
he's a pulp lover. He's a bald beauty pulp lover. We'll just leave it at that. A bald beauty and a pulp lover.
I'm going to tell you one secret before we leave. I have been going to your barber. After you leave your barber, you pay full price. I get it for free. You know, it's buy one, get one free.
And that's my point again. I remember the happiest day of undergrad, freshman year at Creighton. I read the newspaper, and Upjohn Pharmaceuticals in Kalamazoo, Michigan, invented the cure for baldness, minoxidil. And here it is, 40 years later, and the same company's telling me about a vaccine. You've been telling me about male pattern baldness. None of it's came true. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm surprised, but I have zero faith in growing a head of hair or a vaccine this year.
About you is the skepticism and your sense of humor. So we need the optimists and we need the skeptics. So keep going.
All right. Well, kudos to you guys. Love you both. Thank you for serving in this time of need.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.